a silhouette of a massive horse standing in a dark, misty meadow at twilight. Only its breath is visible, forming soft white plumes in the crisp air. The raw, isolated sound of a deep horse exhale echoes clearly. Ultra-slow motion close-up of a human hand gently running through a horse's thick winter coat, dusted with unmelted snow. A slow, rhythmic heartbeat sound enters the background like a steady metronome. Extreme close-up of the horse's large, calm soft eye, gleaming in the darkness, showing absolute tranquility. The camera slowly glides backward. The screen fades to black and clean, large, high-contrast typography fades in, an ancient breath. In the background, the ambient narration drops out, leaving only the profoundly grounding sound of a horse rhythmically chewing hay in the dark. Welcome back to your peaceful sanctuary for the night. If you are stepping into our world for the first time, this is Dreamy Science Stories, a gentle space where we unravel the quiet wonders of our cosmos and let them softly guide you into a deep, restorative sleep. Tonight, our thoughts drift toward horses, not the thunder of racetracks, nor the intensity of competition, nor the noise of human expectation. We are simply being present with the creature itself, the rhythmic cadence of its breath, the innate grace within its stride, the profound reality that they have walked this planet with us far longer than almost anything else we cross paths with today. Before we set off on this journey, if you find comfort in these scientific lullabies and wish to support our growing sanctuary, you can find a link to our Patreon in the description below. Even the smallest token of kindness helps sustain this quiet refuge on the internet. And if you are newly joining our community, a simple like, a subscription, or a brief comment sharing what scientific wonder you would love to drift away to next time. All of it truly aids our reach more than you might imagine. For now, find your comfort. Allow your physical body to grow heavy, sinking into your bed. Let us begin. There is an ethereal quality to a horse resting in an open field under the twilight sky, as if it belongs to an entirely different dimension of time. It is not necessarily a slower existence. Rather, it is more anchored, serene. It is as though the animal breathes outside the chaotic friction of modern life, rooted into the soil with the same timeless permanence as an ancient oak tree. It has nowhere to rush to, for it is already exactly where it belongs. The evolutionary journey of horses across our planet spans a monumental tapestry of time that stretches far beyond ordinary human comprehension. The earliest ancestors of the modern horse made their first delicate imprints upon the earth roughly 55 million years ago. Yet, in those distant epochs, they bore little resemblance to the magnificent, long-limbed, and sweeping figures we admire today. Instead, they were incredibly small, delicate creatures, scarcely larger than a common fox. Rather than possessing a single solid hoof, their feet split into several individual toes. They navigated their way through ancient, humid forests on continents that have since shifted into completely unrecognizable landmasses. Paleontologists eventually named this miniature creature Eohippus, a term translating beautifully to the dawn horse. There is a soothing gentleness hidden within that name, perfectly suited for the quiet moments before sleep. It speaks of the very first awakening, the initial spark of life. From that tiny, highly cautious, forest-dwelling mammal, through millions of years of patient, unhurried adaptation, emerged every single horse alive on our modern Earth. There was never any rush within this story. There never has been. It is a testament to slow, unyielding, and generationally whispered change, an elegant design carved by nature without a conscious blueprint. The transformation from multi-toed feet to a solitary, hardened hoof unfolded over countless millennia, driven by the thinning of primordial forests as they surrendered to expansive, sunlit grasslands. Navigating the soft, damp loam beneath dense forest canopies required spread-out toes to distribute weight and ensure a firm grip. However, as the terrain transitioned into firm, unending plains, nature shifted its strategy. A single, solid hoof allowed for a far more efficient transfer of kinetic energy. It infused the animal's stride with a spring-like elasticity, enabling it to cover vast distances faster and more effortlessly than ever before. That very hoof, the resilient keratin shell you can hear clicking softly against stone or sinking silently into plush grass, is actually a magnificent evolutionary marvel, a single, enormously enlarged toe. It is fundamentally a fingernail that grew exceptionally wide, thick, and durable enough to support the entire structural weight of an animal that often exceeds 1,000 pounds. Consider this profound engineering the next time you witness a horse in motion. A solitary digit, moving with a fluid elegance that required 50 million years of earthly patience to perfect. Horses are fundamentally prey animals. Grasping this core truth is the absolute foundation for unlocking their psychology, their unique anatomy, and their subtle behaviors. This deep-seated reality of survival has meticulously sculpted every aspect of their existence. When a species spends millions of years being pursued, certain traits become mandatory. An impeccable awareness of their surroundings, explosive reflexes, and the uncanny ability to sense an approaching threat long before it becomes dangerous. Horses cultivated these sensory networks so profoundly that even their domesticated descendants, living in secure paddocks and cozy stables with zero predators in sight, still harbor these ancient instincts quietly within their spirits. Their eyes are positioned on the far lateral sides of their skull. This specific anatomical placement provides them with an astonishing panoramic view that spans nearly 360 degrees. Without rotating their head even a fraction, they can absorb almost the entirety of the world around them. Only two small blind spots disrupt this field: the space directly behind their spine and the area immediately beneath their nose. This is precisely why knowledgeable handlers will always approach a horse from the side. Never from the blind rear, where you are a sudden ghost, and never from the direct front, where their vision cannot easily focus. They greet them from the side, where your form can be clearly witnessed, read, and safely understood. Remarkably, horses possess the ability to move each eye independently. One eye can monitor a shifting horizon on the left, while the other tracks a completely different movement on the right. To our human minds, processing such a fractured, dual stream of awareness is dizzying to imagine. Half the consciousness on one boundary, half on another, capturing the whole world simultaneously. Yet, they manage this complex sensory flow with effortless ease, just as they always have. Their auditory system is equally miraculous. A horse features large, exceptionally mobile ears capable of rotating up to 180 degrees. Moving entirely independent of one another, these ears scan the environment like a pair of organic radar dishes. They capture acoustic frequencies both significantly higher and deeper than the limitations of human hearing. The distant rustle of tall grass, a low rumble miles away, or the soft landing of a small creature in the dark, all of it registers with absolute clarity in their consciousness. When a horse is deeply relaxed, observe its ears. They sway casually, loose and relaxed, one tilting lazily forward and the other casually backward. But the moment something intrigues the horse, both ears instantly snap forward in unison, pointing directly toward the source with laser-like focus. Their ears provide an unfiltered map of where their mind is wandering. It is a beautifully honest form of expression, one that brings immense comfort to watch. Their olfactory sense is vastly superior to ours. Their nostrils are wide and remarkably flexible, expanding broadly to draw in deep drafts of air or closing tightly to filter out unwanted scents. Horses utilize smell as a vital language. It allows them to identify companions, investigate strange objects before touching them, locate hidden water sources, find forage buried deep under winter snow, and read the subtle emotional landscapes of those around them. They can easily detect adrenaline and stress hormones within human sweat. Through scent alone, A horse knows whether the person walking toward them is anxious or calm. This is why their responses to our moods can feel almost telepathic. They are not reading your thoughts. They are deciphering your biochemistry, reading your body, and interpreting you exactly how they have always interpreted the natural world. There is a profound humility in that truth. You can simulate calmness externally, but if you are not truly at peace inside, they will know. They are never moved by a performance, only by genuine presence. The way horses sleep is remarkably unique, often surprising those unfamiliar with their world. They are fully capable of resting while remaining on their feet. While their entire sleep cycle does not happen in this position, a significant portion of it does. This is made possible by a brilliant anatomical network in their limbs known as the stay apparatus. This system of specialized tendons and ligaments locks their major joint structures, allowing the horse to stand securely without expending any muscular energy whatsoever. Their legs simply hold the body aloft like solid pillars while the horse dozes peacefully. In the wild, this allowed them to rest while remaining standing, ensuring they could flee instantly if a threat materialized. The physical body regenerates while the survival matrix remains vigilant. However, to access the deepest realms of REM sleep, the stage where dreams blossom, where the mind completely surrenders, and the eyes move beneath closed lids, a horse must lie down completely. They would never allow themselves to be caught in this vulnerable, prone position alone in the wild. Lying down means relinquishing the ability to run. It means absolute vulnerability. Consequently, within a herd, they take turns sleeping. Some lie down in the grass while others remain standing guard, rotating duties based on deep communal trust. There is an incredibly tender beauty to that image. A horse resting flat in the soft grass of a dark field, breathing evenly, dreaming whatever horses dream, while a companion stands watch nearby in the night, ears turning softly, guarding their slumber. When a horse surrenders completely to the earth, stretched out fully on its side with legs extended and head resting on the ground, it enters recumbent sleep. Most horses only experience this for a few hours each day, and never all at once. They take it in brief, precious increments, 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there. Their massive bodies were not built for prolonged periods of lying down, as it can compromise circulation in their heavy muscle groups. They were born for gentle, continuous motion, engineered to cover vast landscapes. Yet, in those brief windows when a horse gives itself over fully to the earth, flat on its side with eyes closed and breathing deeply, there is a sense of absolute wholeness. A majestic creature asking nothing of anyone, entirely surrendered to sleep, to the quiet of the night, and the soft ground beneath its weight. Even in these quiet states, horses communicate perpetually, though much of this dialogue is entirely silent. The angle of an ear, the tilt of the head, the set of the tail, the microtension along the neck, or the soft flare of a nostril, all of it forms a rich language. A language devoid of spoken words, yet infinitely expressive. Two horses standing in a quiet field will arrange their bodies at precise angles to one another, speaking volumes in a beautiful dialect of absolute silence. Standing side by side while facing in opposite directions, each surveying a different half of the horizon, represents a profound posture of mutual trust and collective sanctuary. When they choose to face one another directly, bowing their heads so their nostrils nearly brush, they are sharing a greeting, a moment that can signify a quiet challenge or simply gentle curiosity. Conversely, standing apart with the body subtly angled away is a clear, silent request for personal space. Every posture speaks volumes. No movement is ever wasted. Of course, their silent language is supplemented by an acoustic one. The whinny, sharp and echoing, serves as a beacon across vast distances. A horse separated from its companions will send this high call ringing across open fields, and the distant reply, when it returns, can instantly soothe a frightened animal's heart. The nicker, by contrast, is a much softer, low-frequency, intimate sound. Mothers nicker to their newborn foals continuously during those fragile initial days, offering a rhythmic, velvety reassurance that whispers, "I am here. You are safe. Everything is well." Some horses will even nicker at the sound of familiar footsteps approaching, recognizing their human companion by audio cues long before a silhouette appears. For many, hearing this low, rolling greeting from a 1,000-pound creature is one of the warmest sensory experiences the world has to offer. The interwoven history of humans and horses is one of the oldest epics on Earth. For the vast majority of our collective memory, the entire world moved solely at the speed of a horse. Urgent missives between distant cities, great armies on the march, merchants navigating treacherous mountain passes, farmers turning heavy soil, and families migrating across valleys in search of fertile ground. All of it relied entirely on the cadence of hooves. This grand domestication is believed to have sparked roughly 6,000 years ago across the expansive grasslands of modern-day Ukraine and Kazakhstan. The nomadic people of these steppes were already intimately familiar with horses, primarily as a source of sustenance. Yet, at a certain turning point in history, a shift occurred. Someone became patient enough, curious enough, and gentle enough to try a different path. Those initial domesticated horses were likely small and stocky, bearing little resemblance to the streamlined, elegant creatures we know today. Within a few millennia, however, humans and horses began to reshape one another. Through selective breeding for speed, stature, temperament, and endurance, the equine anatomy and disposition slowly transformed in response to human companionship. It evolved into a profound biological collaboration that neither side fully engineered, and neither side could ever truly undo. Because of this bond, the horse leaps through human mythology much like stars scatter across the night sky, omnipresent, timeless, and as ancient as storytelling itself. In Greek lore, Pegasus was the magnificent winged stallion born from the blood of Medusa, becoming an eternal symbol of poetic inspiration and wild imagination. In Norse sagas, Odin rode Sleipnir, an 8-legged steed capable of shifting between the realms of the living and the dead, carrying its rider through cosmic dimensions no ordinary creature could ever touch. The ancient Celts held horses in such immense reverence that they popularized the worship of Epona, a goddess depicted always in their company. She reigned as the divine protector of horses and riders, her worship spreading from Gaul to the British Isles, and eventually deep into the outposts of the Roman Empire. Even Roman legionnaires, stationed far from their homelands, adopted her as their own. She transcended borders, languages, and centuries, all carried on the back of the horse. Meanwhile, across the Central Asian steppes where the wild herds were first tamed, horses were never viewed as mere property. They were honored as true kin. They represented status, wealth, survival, and boundless speed. They were buried alongside fallen warriors, laid to rest with the sacred, solemn ceremonies typically reserved only for human beings. In every dialect, in every era, the horse was foundational to the human story. One of the most extraordinary attributes of these creatures is their exquisite sensitivity to the emotional currents of those around them. Modern research has revealed that horses possess the rare ability to read human facial expressions. They analyze our faces using neurological pathways that closely parallel how they interpret the expressions of their own kind. They differentiate a joyful face from an angry one, and crucially, they remember. In controlled studies, horses were shown photographs of humans displaying various emotions. When they later encountered those exact individuals in person, their behavior shifted based entirely on the image they had seen weeks prior. If the photograph had displayed a stern or aggressive expression, the horse approached with heightened wariness. If the photo had shown warmth, the horse relaxed instantly. They do not easily forget a face, nor do they forget the precise feeling that face evoked within them. This emotional mirror transforms the bond between human and horse from an act of simple ownership into a true, living relationship. A horse is never a machine merely responding to physical inputs. It is constantly reading your presence, evaluating your intent, and constructing a historical archive of your character in its mind. When genuine trust is established, earned slowly over days and months, and never broken, the horse relaxes its entire being in a way that is breathtaking to watch. The physical form shifts completely. The neck lowers, the eyes soften, the tail hangs loosely, and the breathing slows into a deep, rhythmic hum. It manifests as a beautiful, total release of tension. Their memories are exceptionally long and durable. Evidence shows that horses can easily recognize specific individuals, both human and equine, even after years of complete separation. A horse and a trainer who worked together before being parted for a decade will often experience a profound mutual recognition upon reuniting. The horse may approach with a calm familiarity, let out a soft nicker, or alter its stance to show a level of comfort it rarely offers to strangers. Conversely, they retain the memory of trauma with equal clarity. A horse that experienced harsh treatment will carry that defensive wariness for a lifetime. It may tense up instantly near specific objects, sounds, or scents that were present during that frightening chapter of its past. This is not stubbornness or defiance. It is memory doing exactly what evolution designed it to do, protecting a sentient being from a reoccurrence of danger. Understanding this completely reframes how we must approach them. You are never simply interacting with the animal standing before you in the present moment. You are interacting with the sum of every experience it has ever survived, every kindness that softened its world, and every fear it had to overcome. You are, in essence, entering into a quiet conversation with its entire life story. As the wheel of the year turns, a horse's coat adapts beautifully to the changing seasons. In autumn, as the days begin to contract and the golden ambient light shifts, the equine body registers the solar decline. A specialized winter coat begins its growth cycle, becoming longer, denser, and highly insulating. By the time the bitter frost arrives, the horse is already perfectly dressed for the cold. Then, with the arrival of spring, that heavy winter armor begins to shed. It falls away not all at once, but in soft handfuls, heavy clumps, and floating drifts of loose hair that catch on wooden fences and dance across the paddocks. The emerging coat beneath is short, sleek, and possesses a radiant luster that seems to carry the warmth of the sun itself. This shedding season is a period intimately familiar to anyone who shares their life with horses, primarily because equine hair begins to manifest on absolutely everything, brushed onto clothes, woven into the interiors of cars, and settling in spaces the horse itself has never even visited. It is a minor, constant inconvenience that those who love horses accept with a quiet smile. The hair becomes part of the shared environment, a gentle tax for their companionship. The tactile act of grooming, working through that changing coat with brushes, lifting dried mud, and smoothing out tangles, is a ritual that offers deep therapeutic benefits to both human and animal. The horse is left clean, refreshed, and comfortable, while the person grooming almost always experiences a profound drop in stress. There is an intrinsically meditative rhythm to the process. The long, sweeping strokes of the brush, the steady warmth radiating from the animal's flank beneath your palms, and the earthy scent of the horse. This specific aroma is one of those polarizing elements of the natural world. People either fall in love with it instantly and for the rest of their days, or find it entirely overwhelming and foreign. There is rarely a middle ground. For those who cherish it, the scent is deeply grounding, much like the aroma of petrichor on sun-baked earth, or the scent of wood smoke rising on a crisp winter evening. It is a fragrance that anchors you entirely in the present moment, leaving no room for the anxieties of tomorrow. The various gaits of a horse move with their own distinct internal music. The walk is a precise, 4-beat rhythm where each individual hoof strikes the earth independently. Left hind, left 4, right hind, right 4. It creates a slow, perfectly balanced cadence that can be felt deeply when sitting atop a walking horse. A gentle, swaying rocking motion akin to being cradled by the earth itself. The trot accelerates into a crisp 2-beat symphony, utilizing diagonal pairs of legs that move in flawless unison. The left front and right hind rise and fall together, followed by the right front and left hind. Between each alternating strike lies a breathtaking micro-moment of suspension, a fraction of a second where all 4 hooves are entirely airborne, defying gravity together. The trot is vibrant, energetic, and inherently bouncy, requiring a rider to find a harmonious physical alignment to match its pulse. Yet, watching a solitary horse trot freely across an open pasture, its hooves flicking high toward the sky while its mane rises and falls like waves, reveals a geometric precision that is nothing short of musical. The canter transitions into a fluid, 3-beat movement punctuated by an extended moment of complete suspension. It carries an inherently rolling quality, mimicking the graceful undulation of a wave surging through the horse's entire physique. Engaging in a refined canter atop a peaceful animal offers one of the most serene riding experiences imaginable, unhurried, velvety, and beautifully supportive. Those who have experienced it often describe it as the sensation of flight while remaining intimately connected to the earth. When the animal unleashes its maximum velocity, it shifts into the gallop, a rapid 4-beat sequence where each hoof strikes the ground independently, yet with such blistering speed that the footfalls blur into a singular, continuous rhythm. The physical frame extends completely. The spine rounds and releases with every single stride, the neck stretches forward into the wind, and the hooves scarcely seem to register contact with the soil before taking flight once more. A horse operating at a full gallop routinely reaches speeds of up to 40 miles per hour. Certain lineages, particularly thoroughbreds refined exclusively for raw velocity, are capable of transcending even that threshold. When a creature surges at such speeds, the very earth vibrates beneath its weight. You can feel the low-frequency tremors rippling through the ground a heartbeat before the auditory rush of their approach reaches your ears. Yet, a horse at absolute rest, standing peacefully in an open meadow with one hip casually dropped, a single hind leg resting on its toe, and eyes half closed in twilight contentment, possesses an equally profound zarafet. This is not the majestic grace of kinetic speed, but the quiet grace of being entirely at ease within a biological form perfectly sculpted for this planet. Horses are fundamentally social creatures, capable of forging deep, enduring alliances with specific individuals that persist across many years. They cultivate genuine, observable friendships characterized by a profound and consistent mutual preference. A bonded pair will spend their days navigating the pastures in close proximity, engaging in mutual grooming rituals by standing head to tail, and using their teeth to gently work through the tangled coats along each other's necks and spines. When separated, their composure dissolves into restlessness, only to return to a deep serenity the moment they are reunited. Tragically, when a long-term companion passes away or is removed from the herd, the remaining horse frequently exhibits behaviors that mirror human grief with striking accuracy. They will pace the perimeter of the pastures, call out into the empty distance with haunting whinnies, linger anxiously by fence lines, and experience a sharp decline in appetite. While scientists and observers debate whether this emotional response aligns perfectly with human bereavement, it undeniably represents a profound psychological disruption that requires time and patience to heal. During these dark chapters, the most compassionate offering a human can provide is simply a steady, reassuring presence, allowing time to unfold quietly alongside the mourning animal rather than forcing it to rush through its sorrow. Horses harbor an intrinsic understanding of patience. They reside within it naturally, and they respond to it deeply. The arrival of a foal is nothing short of a miracle. Following an 11-month gestation period, a newborn foal will typically struggle to its feet within a single hour of entering the world. Witnessing this initial awakening can feel almost impossible. The fragile creature battles to comprehend its own limbs, folding and unfolding its overly long legs, shaking with tremors of exertion. Suddenly, an instinctual mechanism clicks, and it pushes upward to stand, looking slightly bewildered by its own accomplishment, still deciphering what these pillars are meant to do. This rapid rise is not born of stubbornness, but of absolute evolutionary necessity. In the wild, a newborn incapable of keeping pace with the moving herd within a few hours is a newborn exposed to mortal peril. Consequently, the equine body accelerates a developmental milestone that takes weeks or months in other mammalian species. By the time a foal is merely a few days old, it can sprint fast enough to match the velocity of mature adults. Its limbs appear strikingly disproportionate to its torso, the long, delicate legs of an animal that has yet to grow into its own frame. Yet, these elongated limbs provide an indispensable evolutionary advantage, granting the foal life-saving speed long before it develops physical mass. The sacred bond between a mare and her offspring is forged permanently during these initial hours. The mother memorizes the unique scent, the precise vocalizations, and the visual nuances of her foal with an unwavering intensity. She can identify her youth within a chaotic herd of hundreds, calling out to it specifically and stepping defensively between her vulnerable foal and any approaching shadow. Concurrently, within hours of birth, the foal has already memorized its mother's distinct nicker, recognizing which of the many voices in the wind belongs to the protector it belongs to. The thoroughbred stands as one of the most celebrated horse breeds in human history, renowned almost exclusively for its unparalleled velocity. Emerging in England during the 17th and 18th centuries, the breed was systematically forged through the meticulous crossing of native English mares with imported Arabian, Barb, and Turkic stallions. From its very inception, the thoroughbred was engineered for a singular, uncompromising purpose: to outpace every living thing on Earth. Remarkably, every registered thoroughbred existing today can trace its genetic lineage back to just 3 foundational sires: the Byerly Turk, the Darley Arabian, and the Godolphin Arabian. These 3 legendary stallions, brought to British shores centuries ago, established the biological bedrock for every racehorse that has ever competed since. Such a narrow ancestral lineage for a global breed carries profound biological consequences. While thoroughbreds are exceptionally swift, they are also highly sensitive, high-strung, and naturally more vulnerable to specific health challenges than hardier, more diverse breeds. They were refined toward an absolute physiological extreme, and like any masterpiece pushed to the edge of design, they possess a delicate fragility in the very attributes that make them extraordinary. Yet, witnessing a thoroughbred in a full, unrestricted stride, when every muscle and tendon operates precisely as evolution and human curation intended, is an image that etches itself permanently into the mind. The immense length of their stride, the illusion of barely skimming the surface of the earth, and the raw, almost reckless commitment to forward motion explain why humanity has watched these creatures run for thousands of years without ever growing weary of the sight. The Arabian represents one of the absolute oldest and most pristine equine bloodlines in existence. Historians believe that the Arabian has been selectively and purely bred for as long as 4,000 years, anchoring it as a living artifact of antiquity. Originating within the harsh, unforgiving landscapes of the Arabian Peninsula, and sculpted by centuries of survival in one of the most demanding environments on Earth, the Arabian developed physical and psychological traits that rendered it completely indispensable to the nomadic Bedouin people. It possessed the miraculous ability to traverse immense desert expanses on minimal water, tolerate brutal extremes of arid heat, and maintain an athletic endurance that outlasted virtually every other equine lineage. Simultaneously, they were breathtakingly beautiful. The uniquely dished facial profile, the large, dark, expressive eyes, the proudly arched neck, and the high-carried tail that flares outward like a silken banner when the animal is alert make the Arabian immediately recognizable, even to an untrained eye. The Bedouin people did not merely own these horses. They wove them intimately into the fabric of their daily survival. During bitter desert nights, cherished mares were brought inside the family tents for warmth and protection. Mares were prized far above stallions because they could be ridden into silent night raids without emitting the vocal challenges that would betray an army's position. Furthermore, horse lineages were memorized and recited with the exact same reverence and meticulous detail as human family genealogies. Through centuries of trade, diplomacy, and conquest, the genetic imprint of the Arabian rippled across the globe. Today, almost every modern light horse breed carries a percentage of Arabian blood whispering somewhere within its ancestry, a golden thread woven through the global horse world, much like foundational myths are woven through human cultures. In contrast to this global convergence, the Icelandic horse represents a breed defined by absolute geographic isolation for over 1,000 years. When Norse settlers navigated the treacherous North Atlantic to colonize Iceland in the 9th century, they carried their trusted small steeds with them. To protect the integrity of these animals, Iceland eventually enacted strict laws prohibiting the importation of any foreign horses, a legal decree maintained for centuries that successfully created a completely unique equine archetype. This breed was sculpted entirely by the raw elements of a singular volcanic island: brutal winters, treacherous lava fields, and freezing Arctic winds. The Icelandic horse is notably compact, frequently measuring only 13 or 14 hands in height. While this technically classifies them as ponies by conventional international standards, Icelanders fiercely reject the term. They are, in spirit and build, true horses, engineered to master every challenge their harsh homeland presents. They possess dense, double-layered winter coats to repel the freezing cold, exceptionally thick manes and tails designed to shield them from driving rain, and remarkably hard hooves shaped to securely grip volcanic rock. Their legendary hardiness allows them to thrive in landscapes where many refined continental breeds would quickly perish. Yet, their most extraordinary attribute lies within their movement. While the vast majority of horse breeds possess 3 natural gaits, the walk, the trot, and the canter, the Icelandic horse commands 5 distinct ways of traveling. The 2 additional gifts are known as the tolt and the flying pace. The tolt is a wonderfully smooth 4-beat lateral gait that allows the horse to cover rough terrain with incredible speed, while offering the rider an entirely motionless saddle experience. There is no jarring bounce, no violent impact, only a fluid, unbroken glide forward, as if you are being carried by a force that has chosen to make travel completely effortless. A famous piece of folklore claims that an experienced Icelandic rider can carry a brimful cup of hot coffee at a full tolt without spilling a single drop. Whether literally true or a poetic exaggeration, it perfectly encapsulates the sublime, glassy smoothness of their movement, a silent, rhythmic dance between a unique creature and the ancient earth beneath its feet. The movement possesses a sublime, mirror-like stability, bypassing almost any physical friction to grant a sensation of weightless transit. To witness this particular biomechanical flow is to marvel at how an animal can completely eliminate the typical jarring impacts of locomotion. Shifting into a higher aerodynamic gear, they can also unleash the flying pace, an ultra-rapid gait defined by synchronous lateral leg movements where the limbs on a single side of the torso rise and strike in perfect unison. This locks the horse into a swift dual-beat velocity that easily clocks 30 miles per hour. While this intense pace demands too much physical exertion to be sustained over expansive distances, Watching a horse engage its power in brief, explosive intervals is deeply captivating. The creature appears to softly glide just above the grass, barely breaking the horizon line in what can only be described as an act of beautifully regulated aviation. The untamed equine herds migrating across the rugged terrains of the American West, traditionally referred to as mustangs, carry a beautifully intricate and misunderstood lineage. From a strictly biological perspective, they do not represent a pristine wild species. Rather, they are classified as feral, the direct descendants of domesticated lineages that escaped captivity or were deliberately turned loose, successfully reclaiming a sovereign existence in nature. Spanish explorers reintroduced these animals to the North American soil during the 16th century, and over subsequent generations, wandering groups proliferated across the vast openness of the Western Plains. Viewed through an evolutionary lens, this migration was a profound cosmic homecoming. The primitive blueprint of the modern horse originally developed on the North American continent, thriving there for millions of years before crossing the prehistoric Bering Land Bridge into Asia, only to vanish entirely from the Americas roughly 10,000 years ago. When those Spanish horses stepped off their vessels, they were actually reclaiming a cradle that had belonged to their bloodline since the dawn of time. In our contemporary world, these Mustang bands inhabit the protected public lands of Nevada, Wyoming, Montana, Oregon, and adjacent territories. Their numbers are monitored by the Bureau of Land Management, an organization that occasionally gathers designated herds to keep the ecological balance in check, making these wild-born creatures available for adoption to handlers possessing the dedication required to guide them. The sacred art of gentling a Mustang, a deeply respectful process that stands in stark opposition to the forceful, aggressive braking methods of the past, represents one of the most patient, spiritually demanding, and mutually transformative partnerships a human can form with a living being. A horse born in the wilderness possesses no inherent concept that human presence equates to security. Its ancient survival code dictates that humans are apex threats, and every instinct commands it to vanish into the horizon. Dissolving that wild fear and cultivating trust is a slow, meticulous dance that utterly rejects force or haste. Tranquility must be extended without condition, day after day, until the horse makes a sovereign internal decision that peace is achievable by your side. Those who immerse themselves in this work speak of it as an incredibly grounding experience, because the animal is never under any obligation to surrender its wildness to you. It is always a voluntary choice, and when that untamed spirit finally chooses to step into your space, to drop its defensive posture, and to welcome your hand for the very first time, the profound weight of that earned trust is a moment of pure magic. Throughout the rise and fall of human empires, horses have also been our silent partners in the grim art of warfare, representing one of the darker, more sorrowful chapters of our shared story. From the bronze battle chariots of the ancient Hittites to the thunderous cavalry charges of the Napoleonic campaigns, horses remain the absolute epicenter of military logistics for millennia. They bore the weight of armored soldiers into chaotic battlefields, hauled massive iron artillery through deep mud, and moved vital provisions across jagged terrains that no wheeled machinery could ever hope to cross. They perished in staggering, unimaginable numbers, laying down their lives alongside human soldiers in service of territorial conflicts they had no voice in. During the global catastrophe of the First World War alone, it is estimated that roughly 8 million horses were lost, 8 million conscious lives extinguished. On both sides of the line, in every climate and territory, these creatures stood amidst the gunfire and vanished. Today, solemn monuments exist to commemorate their silent service. In London's Hyde Park, the Animals in War Memorial carries a painfully simple inscription: "They had no choice." That is the exact thought that echoes in the quiet mind. They had no choice. They occupied those desolate battlefields simply because we led them there. They endured the horrors of our making because we asked it of them, bearing the weight of human ambition with the exact same boundless patience and quiet dignity they bring to everything else. Their collective history with our species is a monument to an extraordinary, almost divine generosity, and it deserves to be honored with the deepest reverence. In our modern era, the lives of these majestic creatures have evolved into something profoundly different. A vast number exist purely as companions, cherished for recreational riding, competitive showing, or the simple, unadulterated joy of their presence. They spend their days in comfortable stables and pristine paddocks, groomed, nourished, and kept with a degree of tenderness that would be entirely alien to a wild horse on the ancient, windswept steppe. Others function as elite athletes, racehorses engineered for the breathtaking velocity of the track, show jumpers that learn to clear complex configurations of high fences with explosive athletic power, and dressage horses executing maneuvers so remarkably subtle and disciplined that they resemble a living sculpture in motion. True brilliance in dressage manifests when the performance becomes entirely fluid, creating the illusion that the horse is spontaneously choosing each poetic movement for its own pleasure. Concurrently, many lineages remain essential working partners, deeply integrated into agriculture in corners of the globe, where treacherous terrain or ancestral traditions make them the absolute best option for the land. Within the dense woodlands of Europe and North America, massive draft horses are still relied upon for logging operations because they can navigate and extract heavy timber under conditions where heavy mechanical vehicles would cause permanent, catastrophic damage to the fragile forest floor and root systems. Their monumental scale, raw physical power, and keen intelligence merge into a harmonious working dynamic that no machine has ever fully replicated for that delicate task. Furthermore, an increasing number of horses serve as profound mirrors in equine-assisted therapy, working side by side with individuals healing from psychological trauma, physical limitations, or deep emotional trials. The empirical research validating this intuitive bond is growing rapidly, supported by countless stories of human restoration. Combat veterans returning from conflict zones frequently discover a unique emotional sanctuary in the presence of horses that traditional talk therapy simply cannot access. Children navigating developmental challenges form nonverbal connections with these massive animals that unlock entirely new pathways of communication. Those carrying the suffocating weight of grief find that the simple, unhurried act of being near a horse, of rhythms of brushing its coat, or moving in sync with its stride, coaxes a peace into their soul that has refused to awaken any other way. Horses possess a rare, beautiful capacity to meet us exactly where we stand, without an ounce of judgment, without a hidden agenda, and without any demand for you to feel anything other than what you are experiencing in that exact breath. To maintain their grand biology, horses consume between 5 and 10 gallons of water every single day under normal circumstances, a requirement that climbs significantly higher during the peak of summer or periods of intense physical labor. They are drawn to water with the same primal relief that has always guided the herds of the open plains toward hydration. Watching a horse drink from a running stream or a quiet trough is a deeply meditative visual. The soft lowering of the muzzle to the glassy surface, the long, rhythmic, regular swallows, and the steady movement of the throat convey a profound sense of restoration, as if a vital equilibrium is being carefully returned to the depths of their being. When granted a choice, horses instinctively favor moving water, prioritizing active, flowing streams over stagnant pools. This behavioral inclination was meticulously shaped by millions of years of evolutionary survival. Running water is naturally far less likely to harbor dangerous bacteria and pathogens than a still pond. This preference protected their collective health long before humanity ever developed the scientific language to explain the mechanics of disease. They share an equally vital relationship with salt. Horses require consistent amounts of sodium chloride to regulate their cellular biochemistry, and they will actively seek it out in the environment. Mineral blocks placed within their pastures are visited regularly and with clear, deliberate intent. The horse will press its rough tongue against the block, licking steadily and methodically for as long as it takes to satisfy the chemical requirement its body is signaling for. There is a serene simplicity in that behavior, recognizing precisely what your biology demands and moving directly toward it without an ounce of modern complication. The hooves of a horse grow continuously throughout its entire life cycle, much like human fingernails, requiring perpetual trimming and expert maintenance. In the wilderness, the unending migration of the herd over varied, abrasive terrains naturally wears the hoof capsule down at roughly the same rate it expands. In domestic environments, however, where horses spend their time grazing on soft pasture grass or resting within bedded stalls, the specialized intervention of a farrier becomes absolutely crucial. A farrier is a highly skilled craftsman specializing in the trimming and shoeing of equines, a trade that is both physically exhausting and intellectually demanding. The practitioner must possess a profound comprehension of equine biomechanics, the intricate internal vascular anatomy of the foot, and how to correct structural imbalances to preserve healthy alignment. They engage with each hoof by gently lifting it, securing it firmly between their knees, and meticulously pairing, rasping, and balancing the horn with specialized tools. The horse must remain tranquil throughout this process. An animal that panics or pulls away increases the physical risk for everyone involved. Most well-handled horses learn to accept this routine as a natural cadence of their life, standing with half-closed eyes while the farrier works around their limbs, as if the entire ritual is simply a comforting, expected part of their day. A perfectly fitted horseshoe provides vital structural support to the hoof wall and ensures that the animal's massive weight is distributed evenly across the solar surface of the foot. Historically, these protective shoes were forged exclusively from raw iron. Today, they are engineered from a diverse spectrum of modern materials tailored to the horse's specific lifestyle. Heavy steel for industrial draft work, ultralight aluminum for racehorses where every single ounce influences velocity, and specialized rubber or composite polyurethanes for animals requiring extra shock absorption and joint cushioning. The ancient custom of hanging a discarded horseshoe above a threshold for good fortune is a symbol so deeply woven into global culture that its true origins are frequently lost to time. In numerous folklore traditions, iron was believed to possess metaphysical properties capable of repelling negative spiritual forces. The unique crescent shape of the shoe carried deep, sacred associations with the protective, cyclical energy of the moon, and even the specific number of nails used to fasten it to the hoof was considered part of the protective geometry. Exactly which direction the shoe should be oriented, open-end upward to catch and collect falling blessings, or open-end downward to pour luck over those who step beneath the frame, has been a subject of affectionate debate in global folklore for centuries. Yet the shoe itself, that simple, elegant curve of metal pulled from the fire of a forge and hammered into form upon an anvil, has traveled right alongside humanity for at least 2,000 years, a silent, enduring emblem of a journey shared between two entirely different worlds. A horse's teeth serve as a remarkably accurate biographical record of its years on Earth. This anatomical reality birthed the timeless caution against inspecting a gift horse's mouth. Historically, peering into an equine mouth was the definitive method to judge its actual value. To scrutinize the teeth of an animal presented to you as a generous token was deemed incredibly boorish, as it openly calculated the material worth of a gesture. Unlike human dentition, equine teeth erupt progressively throughout the greater portion of their lifespan. As the decades accumulate, the teeth grow visibly longer, protruding at increasingly sharp angles where patterns on their grinding surfaces shift in predictable sequences. An expert, I can decipher these dental transformations to calculate a horse's maturity with impressive precision, particularly during its youth. This slow, structural lengthening is the direct origin of the idiom "long in the tooth," used to describe someone advancing in years. As strict herbivores, horses are biologically programmed to consume grasses, forage, and diverse plant matter. Their specialized digestive anatomy thrives on an unbroken cycle of continuous grazing, ingesting tiny amounts uniformly across the day, rather than processing massive meals in isolated viewings. The equine gut operates at peak health when it is kept in perpetual, gentle motion, constantly digesting a steady stream of fiber. In natural landscapes, wild herds spend between 16 and 20 hours out of every 24 grazing. They drift across the terrain with a tranquil, methodical pace, heads lowered to the soil, cropping a patch of grass, stepping forward and cropping again. They navigate massive distances without rushing or panic, caught in a beautiful loop where the act of nourishment is never truly completed. When domestic horses are confined to stalls for extended periods, this biological disruption can trigger severe physiological and psychological distress. The digestive tract demands physical movement to function smoothly, just as the equine mind requires active engagement. Denied the ability to wander and graze freely, a horse will often channel its frustration into repetitive stress behaviors. They might weave rhythmically from side to side or engage in cribbing, gripping wooden surfaces with their teeth while swallowing air, inventing closed loops of behavior to occupy a body left with nothing else to do. Progressive stable management aims to honor this intrinsic nature by offering maximum turnout in open pastures, keeping hay continuously accessible, and ensuring companionship and space that mimic the liberating dynamics of the open plain. As dusk descends, a horse pasture adopts an entirely unique, sacred stillness. During that final, golden hour of daylight, the ambient atmosphere shifts to rich amber, and the shadows stretch long across the grass. The herd naturally settles as the illumination fades, drifting into closer proximity. Some continue to graze with slowed, meditative movements, while others stand as silent sentinels along the fence lines, tracking the darkening horizon with immense, peaceful eyes. Horses navigate low-light environments with a visual acuity that far surpasses our own. Their eyes are among the largest of any terrestrial mammal, equipped with wide pupils capable of expanding drastically in the shadows to gather the faintest glimmers of light. They can traverse rugged landscapes safely under nothing more than a silver sliver of moon, a survival skill honed over millions of years of nocturnal vigilance. The auditory tapestry of a nocturnal pasture is composed of tiny, intimate sounds. The crisp, soft tearing of grass blades, occasional muffled hoofbeats shifting from one patch of earth to another, a deep, rolling exhale echoing through wide nostrils, the gentle friction of two bodies brushing past one another, the low groan of a wooden fence post swaying in the evening breeze. Beneath these sparse notes lies the reassuring presence of massive creatures at absolute rest. It is the profound tranquility of animals existing precisely where they belong, executing the exact purpose for which they were sculpted, surrendered completely to the darkness, the grass, and the cool air washing over the sleeping field. The heart of a horse is quite literally a monument of nature, weighing between 8 and 10 pounds on average, roughly 6 times the mass of a human heart. Within the realm of thoroughbred racing, the physical dimension of this organ is recognized as a primary engine of athletic genius. A larger cardiovascular pump propels vast volumes of oxygenated blood with every individual contraction, empowering skeletal muscles to exert immense power for sustained durations. This reality is immortalized in the legacy of Secretariat, the legendary stallion who swept the American Triple Crown in the early 1970s. establishing speed records that remain untouched to this day. Following his passing, a post-mortem examination revealed that his heart was an astonishing anomaly, weighing over 22 pounds, more than double the size of an ordinary horse. Whether this magnificent biological marvel explains the entirety of his brilliance or not, the image of that chest cavity carrying an engine of such unprecedented scale remains unforgettable. A creature built to cover the earth faster than any horse before him. Yet, horsemen have always spoken of heart in a deeply spiritual sense. It represents an animal's unyielding willingness, its internal fire, and the silent resolve to keep pressing forward long after cold logic dictates surrender. This psychological grit is treasured far above raw speed or physical stature. A horse blessed with this true heart will gallop through intense discomfort, try repeatedly when a task seems insurmountable, and remain fiercely loyal to its rider when another creature would simply give up. No trainer can instill this trait through conditioning, and no school can teach it. It is either woven into the soul of the horse or it is absent, and the moment you witness it, it is unmistakable. Despite their imposing athletic majesty, horses are simultaneously fragile creatures. Their complex digestive architecture is notoriously susceptible to illness. Colic, a broad term encompassing various forms of severe abdominal distress, reigns as one of the primary perils to an equine life. It can escalate from a mild, self-correcting ache to a catastrophic, life-threatening crisis in a matter of hours. Crucially, a horse is anatomically incapable of vomiting. Their digestive tract is strictly a one-way system. When a blockage, twist, or gas accumulation occurs within that long, winding labyrinth of intestines, the animal's physiological options are dangerously limited. Consequently, caretakers must learn to read the subtle baselines of their horse's daily behavior with meticulous care, ensuring that any slight deviation is recognized instantly. Signs of early gastrointestinal distress, lying down or rolling at unusual hours of the day, anxiously turning the head to stare at the flank or abdomen, showing a sudden reluctance to touch fresh feed, repeatedly pawing at the ground with a front hoof. These quiet, easily missed signals are often the opening warnings of a situation requiring emergency veterinary care. The relationship between a horse person and their veterinarian is uniquely tight-knit, not because horses are chronically frail, but because the margin for error is razor-thin, and the patient cannot articulate where the agony resides. The horse can only alter its behavior, leaving us to interpret the underlying pain. This dynamic demands a rare form of quiet attentiveness, to watch, to look closely, and to honor the small shifts before the crisis expands beyond control. A philosophy that serves as a beautiful blueprint for human relationships as well. Horses have been captured by the human hand for as long as art itself has existed on Earth. The earliest known depictions are preserved deep within the cave systems of southern France and northern Spain, painted more than 30,000 years ago. Within France's Chauvet cave, the horse emerges as the most frequently illustrated creature on the stone surfaces. They leap from the rock in bold red and black pigments, outlined with a fluid confidence that proves the Ice Age artists had spent lifetimes studying their movements. These were not the managed companions of a stable, but wild, untamed beasts that ancient humans hunted, feared, and observed from a distance. Yet, these early peoples journeyed deep into the subterranean dark, using flickering firelight to paint these silhouettes again and again until the images seemed to breathe on the stone. While we can only speculate on their motives, perhaps honoring them as sacred deities, depicting them as part of ritualistic hunting ceremonies, or attempting to capture their lightning speed to study them, the impulse survived the passing of millennia. This creative obsession moved seamlessly through the ancient monuments of Egypt and Greece, across the intricate tapestries of medieval Europe, through the oil masterpieces of the Renaissance, and out onto the sprawling landscape paintings of the American West. The equine form remains an omnipresent motif across every human culture and epoch. They possess a symmetry that the human eye naturally follows without instruction, demanding to be sketched, sculpted, painted, and remembered. In the late 19th century, a single technological breakthrough forever altered our understanding of equine motion. In the 1870s, a visionary photographer named Edward Muybridge was commissioned by a wealthy California businessman to settle a highly contested wager. The debate centered on a question that had divided horsemen and scientists for generations. Does a horse, when operating at a full gallop, ever experience a moment where all four hooves are completely airborne at the same time? The mechanics of the gallop occurred far too rapidly for the human eye to isolate. For centuries, artists had painted galloping horses with their front and hind legs stretched outward simultaneously in a classic rocking horse pose, a posture that modern science would reveal to be a complete anatomical impossibility. Other artists depicted them with their limbs bunched tightly beneath them, but no one possessed definitive proof. To unlock the truth, Muybridge arranged a linear sequence of cameras along the edge of a racetrack, rigging each shutter to snap in rapid succession as the horse snapped a series of fine, transparent tripwires stretched across the track. As the horse galloped past, each camera captured one fraction of the stride. When the images were assembled, there it was, unmistakable, all 4 feet off the ground at the same time, but not in the splayed position artists had imagined. Instead, bunched beneath the body, all 4 legs pulled in together at the moment of suspension. This was one of the first times photography had revealed something about movement that the human eye simply could not see. It changed how artists painted horses from that point forward. It began a new era of using images to study motion. And it settled, finally, a question that had been argued about for a very long time. The answer was yes. They fly, briefly and repeatedly with every stride. They leave the ground completely, all 4 feet entirely airborne for just a moment before coming back. The Przewalski's horse is considered the last truly wild horse in the world. Unlike mustangs, which are feral horses descended from domesticated stock, the Przewalski's horse, sometimes called the Taki in Mongolia, has never been fully domesticated. It is a distinct species with a chromosome count different from domestic horses. It is the genuine article, what wild horses were before we changed them. By the late 1950s, they had disappeared from the wild entirely. The last confirmed sighting of a wild Przewalski's horse was in 1969. They survived only in zoos, a handful of captive animals carrying the whole of their species between them. Then something remarkable happened. Breeding programs coordinated between zoos around the world began working to rebuild the population. Carefully, slowly, managing genetics across institutions, they prepared the animals for eventual release. By the 1990s, Przewalski's horses were being returned to the Mongolian steppe. A small beginning, but a beginning. Today, there are around 2,000 of them in the wild and in captivity combined. It is not a large number, and they are still endangered, but they are there, on the steppe where they belong. Small herds moving through the landscape, as they always have. They are stocky and dun-colored with dark legs and a short, upright mane that does not fall to the side the way a domestic horse's mane does. They look ancient because they are. They look like something drawn on a cave wall because their ancestors were. Draft horses are a different kind of remarkable. Not built for speed but for strength. Not for racing but for pulling. The Shire horse, one of the largest breeds in the world, can stand nearly 6 feet at the shoulder and weigh more than 2,000 pounds. It is an animal of almost staggering scale when you stand beside one. The legs are wide and feathered with long, silky hair at the fetlock. The head is large and broad. The hooves alone are bigger than a dinner plate. These horses pulled the plows that turned fields for centuries in England. They hauled the dray wagons that moved goods through city streets. They built the infrastructure of a country in the era before engines. quietly, enormously, step by step by step. A pair of Shire horses pulling together can move loads that seem impossible. Teams of them built the canals, roads, and railways of the industrializing world, working alongside human laborers in conditions that would stop most animals cold. And despite their size, despite the sheer physical weight of them, they are known for gentleness. A Shire standing still is a wall of muscle and warmth, but they are patient and calm. They let children approach. They stand while the smallest hands offer them hay. The combination of that size and that gentleness is one of the stranger and more affecting things in the horse world. Something that enormous choosing to be gentle is a choice that costs it nothing and means something to everyone who sees it. The relationship between a rider and a horse is built on communication, so subtle it becomes invisible to an outside observer. A skilled rider uses weight, leg position, the angle of the hip, the softness or firmness of the hand, and the direction of the gaze, all of it at once, to communicate with the horse. The horse reads all of these signals simultaneously. A slight shift of weight can tell the horse to move left. A gentle squeeze of the leg can ask for more energy. A stillness in the body can ask for a slow pace, and a release of tension can signal rest. Beginners wonder how experts seem to do nothing, and the horse does everything. The answer is that they're doing something, they're just doing it small. They have learned to make their body a clear language, and the horse has learned to read it. The horse also communicates back. An ear that swivels toward the rider, a back that softens or tightens, a step that becomes lighter or heavier, the rhythm of the breathing. The horse tells you what it thinks, what it is about to do, and what is making it uneasy. The rider's job is to listen. At its best, riding is a conversation. Two minds, two bodies, different species, finding a language between them. Something understood, then forgotten, and then found again a little easier each time. Horses know things we do not. They know when a storm is coming. Horses often become unsettled before a storm arrives, sometimes hours before any human has noticed the change in weather. They may pace, mill together, or refuse to go to certain parts of the field. The change in barometric pressure, the shift in the air, something reaches them before it reaches us. They can sense earthquake tremors before humans detect them. Animals in general have been noted to behave unusually before seismic events, and horses are among the most sensitive. Whether this is vibration through the ground, a change in electrical fields, or a shift in sound that runs below human hearing, nobody is entirely sure, but they know. Something in them knows. They notice the unfamiliar in a landscape with a precision that is almost eerie to watch. A plastic bag in a hedge 50 yards away, a new cone on a road they walk daily, a bird sitting in an unusual place, the horse flags it. Ears forward, attention sharp, body poised. To a person on the horse's back, this can feel like overreaction. But remember what the horse has always been, a prey animal. In a world where noticing the small, out-of-place thing meant life or death, the plastic bag is not a plastic bag to the horse. It is something that was not there before, and something that was not there before deserves full, immediate, undivided attention. This is a different relationship with the world than ours. More present, more alert, never fully settled, always scanning. It is tiring to think about, actually. And perhaps this is why horses, when they finally do feel safe, rest so fully. Because being truly awake for them is a full-time occupation. Horses have been part of some of the most extraordinary journeys in human history. Genghis Khan's cavalry moved faster and farther than any army before it, covering distances that made it seem like they were everywhere at once. The horses of the Mongol steppe were small and tough, and they could survive on grass alone where other horses would have starved. They carried an empire into being. Alexander the Great had a famous horse called Bucephalus, whose name meant ox head, a reference to the markings on his forehead. Alexander was said to have tamed the horse as a teenager when no one else could. noticing that the horse was frightened of its own shadow. He turned the horse to face the sun so that the shadow fell behind and rode him. The relationship between them lasted for decades. When Bucephalus died, Alexander named a city after him, Bucephala, a city for a horse. The Pony Express, which operated for only 18 months in the early 1860s, used horses to carry mail from Missouri to California. Riders changed horses every 10 to 15 miles at relay stations strung across nearly 2,000 miles of wilderness. The total journey took about 10 days. At the time, it was the fastest communication across a continent, the equivalent of a modern internet, all of it on horseback, all of it carried on 4 legs and a heartbeat. In the mountains of the American West, there are still ranches where horses work the way they always have. Cattle need to be moved across terrain that no vehicle can navigate. Horses can go where the land demands, up steep draws through scrub oak and sage, and across creeks running cold and fast. A good ranch horse is trained to read cattle as naturally as it reads its own herd, anticipating where an animal will move before it moves, positioning without being asked, almost thinking ahead. The American quarter horse stands as the definitive partner for Western livestock operations, earning its name from an unmatched capability to outrun any breed over a straight quarter-mile sprint. Evolution and selective breeding have given this animal a compact, athletic frame that sits relatively close to the earth compared to its more leggy counterparts. Their hallmark physical feature is a pair of immensely muscled hindquarters and powerful thighs, providing the biomechanical architecture required to launch into an explosive gallop from an absolute standstill. Within this realm, the cutting horse represents the absolute pinnacle of equine instinct and specialized training. These animals are trained to enter a chaotic herd of cattle, smoothly isolate a single targeted calf, and resolutely block it from returning to its companions. Remarkably, a master-level cutting horse executes this grueling, high-speed task with virtually zero guidance from the human in the saddle. The handler deliberately drops the reins loose, signaling a complete transfer of control. The horse manages the entire operation independently, locking its focus onto the calf and reading its body language. It perfectly mirrors the prey animal's evasive movements, cutting off every potential escape route with an intuitive intelligence and physical agility that no human rider could ever orchestrate or improve upon. This dynamic demands absolute vulnerability and trust from the rider, allowing the horse's internal genius to take over. It transcends a mere athletic performance or a collection of learned tricks. It is a profound, cross-species alliance where 2 entirely different organisms accomplish a complex objective that neither could ever achieve alone. As the midnight hours deepen and the world retreats into shadow, horses continue their timeless rhythms far beyond human sight. Across the globe, herds gather closely in the nighttime chill, their breath condensing into ghostly white plumes in the dark air. Often, a single sentinel stands slightly detached from the resting group, its ears rotating to catch the subtle frequencies of the night while its companions sleep securely. Below them, the pasture grass turns silver under a heavy coating of nocturnal dew, resting beneath an immense, star-filled sky that has been unfurled for hours. Simultaneously, inside a nearby stable, a lone mare buries her muzzle deep within a bundle of fresh forage. She pulls massive mouthfuls of hay from the rack, masticating with slow, unhurried, rhythmic strokes. This steady, continuous sound of an equine consuming hay in the absolute darkness stands as one of the most profoundly grounding and peaceful auditory experiences a human can encounter. For those who have sat in a dark barn and listened to it, it is unforgettable. For those who haven't, it evokes a universal truth. There is food. There is shelter. There is no threat approaching. There is only the absolute safety of the present moment. Elsewhere, a newborn foal sleeps completely flat on its side, its delicate legs fully extended and its ribcage rising and falling in deep, restorative respirations. It is an existence so fresh and untouched by the world that sleep claims its entire being. Its mother keeps watch just a few paces away, not needing to touch or disturb her youth, but offering her massive, protective presence as an anchor. Far away on the sweeping grasslands of the steppe, wild bands navigate the darkness, driven by nothing but the ancient urge for locomotion. They possess no ultimate destination other than the next nourishing patch of wild vegetation. The night wind sweeps across their backs as they traverse a landscape rendered familiar by millions of generations of identical hooves. This entire nocturnal existence unfolds in pristine quietude, remaining exactly as it has existed for millennia. Whether standing in a forgotten field, resting in a managed stable, or migrating across a vast plain, the horse breathes, rests, and endures entirely independent of our observation. The transformation of a horse's coat as winter approaches is a spectacular feat of natural engineering. The hairs grow remarkably thick and dense, working to trap pockets of stagnant air directly against the animal's hide. This biological barrier creates a flawless layer of insulation, allowing the horse to remain warm and comfortable even amidst punishing sub-zero temperatures. Because their ancestors evolved on windswept, unprotected plains during prehistoric ice ages, severe cold is an environment they are intimately prepared for. When the mercury drops dangerously low, a herd will collectively turn their hindquarters directly into the oncoming wind. This unified defensive posture is adopted through a silent, instinctual consensus reached without a single trace of conflict. With their long tails blown forward between their hind legs and their heads lowered toward the chest, they stand completely motionless, as patient and unyielding as ancient stone monuments. During an active blizzard, a horse will frequently remain out in the open field, calmly allowing fresh snow to accumulate directly onto its back. They show no distress and make no effort to seek artificial shelter. This falling snow will often pile up without melting at all, a striking visual confirmation that their internal insulation is operating at absolute perfection, preventing even a fraction of their internal body heat from escaping to the outer surface of the coat. A dapple gray or bay horse standing frozen in a snow-covered meadow, dusted in pure white and wrapped in complete stillness, evokes the imagery of an ancient oil painting from a bygone era when winters were more severe. Horses were the lifeblood of human transit, and the planet spun in a much quieter rhythm. Humans are only beginning to decode the sophisticated emotional language that horses communicate through their faces. Modern behavioral research confirms that horses utilize an intricate array of facial expressions to telegraph their internal emotional states, mirroring the social complexities found in primates and humans. Their facial musculature is incredibly dynamic and mobile. The nostrils can be flared in excitement or tightly pinched in moments of pain. The delicate contours around the eyelids shift dramatically based on their underlying mood. The fine muscles surrounding the mouth and muzzle adjust to reveal tension or comfort. A highly specific contraction known as the worry wrinkle forms directly above the eye socket when an animal is experiencing acute stress or psychological discomfort. Conversely, an entirely relaxed horse displays what equestrians traditionally call a soft eye. This term describes a genuine physical relaxation where the tension surrounding the ocular muscles completely dissolves, causing the eyeball to appear deeply set within the socket, concealing the white sclera and softening their entire countenance. A hard eye presents the exact opposite. The surrounding muscles tighten, the eyelids narrow, and the whites of the eye become visible along the edges as the animal anxiously calculates its immediate survival options. When a horse reveals the white of its eye in this distinct manner, it signals an escalation of raw panic. And a panicked horse is one capable of explosive, unpredictable behavior. Learning to interpret these silent visual cues offers a window into a rich emotional universe that operates entirely without language. It demands considerable time, reverence, and undivided attention. But once this vocabulary is unlocked, it can never be forgotten. The horse's face becomes just as readable, honest, and stripped of artifice as the face of a human being. While the standard lifespan of a domestic horse typically spans 25 to 30 years, certain individuals possess an extraordinary vitality that carries them far beyond that horizon. The ultimate historical benchmark belongs to a legendary animal named Old Billy, who was born in England during the twilight of the 18th century and survived to the miraculous age of 62. Old Billy spent his 6 decades laboring as a barge horse, pulling heavy cargo vessels along industrial canals and outliving multiple generations of the human handlers who walked the towpaths alongside him. As an animal transitions into its twilight years, its physical requirements undergo a natural shift. Their grinding teeth slowly wear down to the gum line, their digestive tracts process nutrients with reduced efficiency, and their joints naturally stiffen. When you encounter a magnificent senior horse, you are witnessing the direct reflection of the lifetime care it received. The gentleness and compassion invested into its youth manifest clearly in the dignity of its old age. These senior horses possess a rare, incomparable aura, a profound emotional steadiness born from having witnessed every imaginable human sound, season, and environment. The chaotic stimuli that would trigger a panicked flight response in a young horse no longer registers with them. This is not due to a degradation of their physical senses, but rather because a lifetime of experience has taught them how to instantly filter true danger from harmless noise. Consequently, a seasoned older horse represents the safest possible partner for a novice rider. It has navigated these lessons 1,000 times over, safely carrying countless beginners before. It effortlessly distinguishes between the erratic, clumsy movements of an uneducated student and an actual survival emergency. Without drama, panic, or haste, the old horse gently guides the beginner through the motions, quietly executing its duty with a steady heart one more time. The Portuguese language harbors a beautiful word, saudade, which articulates a bittersweet, haunting longing for an exquisite entity that has vanished, an ideal that perhaps never fully materialized, or a beauty that remains perpetually just out of reach. It is an emotional ache laced with profound tenderness for something that is currently absent. This concept beautifully frames our collective human relationship with the horse, not through a lens of mourning, but through an acknowledgement of a historic bond. Our two species share a deep saga woven out of mutual dependence, grueling labor, and raw aesthetic beauty, making it entirely natural to harbor a collective sense of saudade for their form. It is a grand nostalgia directed not at a specific century, but at the entirety of our shared journey. This reverence encompasses the free-roaming herds on the prehistoric plains, the very first human hand that reached out into the wild, and the first back that surrendered to a rider's weight. It honors the vast merchant caravans, the tragic wartime cavalries, the tireless agrarian plow horses, and the generations of children who have buried their faces into warm equine necks to breathe in that intoxicating, earthy scent. It unites every horse that has ever vanished into history with the animals standing in our contemporary pastures, stables, and open ranges, breathing softly in the evening chill, remaining the exact same sovereign creatures they have been since the beginning of time. When a young child encounters a horse for the very first time, the sheer scale of the animal hits with a shocking impact. Even a diminutive pony appears monumental to a small child standing close to its frame. The head seems impossibly large, the dark eyes are massive, and the heavy hooves are wider than a child's hand with fingers fully outspread. While this imposing size fills some children with an immediate defensive fear, it exerts an irresistible, life-changing gravity on others. A silent spark ignites within those specific children. They step forward and stretch out a trembling hand to touch the warm skin of the neck. In response, the massive horse slowly rotates its head, regarding the tiny human with its large, calm eye. In that silent intersection, something deep within the child recognizes something equally ancient within the animal. No educator can instruct this bond, and no language can articulate its mechanics. It predates the invention of speech and human culture. It is a primal recognition, the quiet beginning of an elegant, lifelong conversation. This enduring conversation finds its most disciplined and artistic expression in the elite equestrian discipline known as dressage. While traditionally classified as a competitive sport, it functions as something entirely distinct from normal athletic competitions. Deriving its title from the French word meaning simply training, dressage at its absolute apex ceases to be a display of mechanical domination. Instead, it transforms into an exquisite, nonverbal dialogue between two distinct minds and bodies, rendered entirely visible to the human eye. The refined ballet of dressage trace its origins directly to historical battlefield tactics. Centuries ago, a mounted soldier's survival depended entirely on his steed's capacity to execute sharp, instantaneous turns, pivot sideways to evade a blade, and rapidly contract its muscular frame into a perfectly balanced, responsive posture. Over generations, these crucial defensive maneuvers transcended their utilitarian military origins to blossom into a high art form. At the absolute apex of international competition sits the Grand Prix, a showcase of intricate movements requiring flawless symmetry and physical conditioning. Within this elite repertoire, the piaffe demands that the horse lock into a rhythmic trot completely in place, gracefully elevating diagonal pairs of hooves while suspended in space without advancing a single inch. This transitions into the passage, an ultra-slow, floating trot defined by an exaggerated, dramatic suspension where the animal appears to briefly hang in mid-air between each stride. The test also demands the pirouette, executed at a collected canter within a minuscule circle. The horse's hindquarters remain virtually stationary as an anchor, while the front limbs gracefully sweep a radius around them. Yet, the ultimate manifestation of classical mastery is the levade. In this legendary display, the stallion draws its hind legs deep beneath its torso and rises upward, balancing its entire mass on its hocks alone. Held at a steep, dramatic angle, the horse must remain frozen in perfect tranquility for several seconds, a feat demanding monumental physical strength, immense internal calm, and absolute vulnerability and trust in the handler. For over 4 centuries, the historic Spanish riding school in Vienna has preserved and cultivated these classical traditions. The iconic Lipizzaner stallions utilized by the Academy, compact, muscular, and boasting pristine white coats, are specifically bred to endure this rigorous athletic calling. Their education begins in early youth and unfolds with immense patience, spanning 6 or 7 years before the animal is deemed fully mature in its career. The institution completely rejects haste, building each milestone step by small step upon a foundation of mutual understanding and enthusiastic willingness. To witness a mature Lipizzaner floating in a perfect passage is to watch an animal transcend the baseline laws of physics and weight. The majestic elevation of the limbs, the exquisite arch of the neck, and the profound dignity of its carriage radiate a genuine sense of equine mastery. The relationship between the horse and the earth is a cycle of mutual sculpture. The landscape dictates the development of the animal, and the animal fundamentally rewrites the architecture of the landscape. When a free-roaming herd migrates across a grassland, they act as dynamic ecological engineers. Their selective foraging habits manage specific plant populations. Their nutrient-dense manure acts as a vital fertilizer for the topsoil. Their heavy, churning hooves break through hard-packed earth, aerating the ground to welcome new seeds. Their habitual movements carve distinct trails through dense, tall flora, creating vital transit corridors for smaller wildlife species. Their concentration around natural water holes directly shifts the vegetative patterns of those delicate riparian zones. During the ancient Pleistocene epoch, ancestral equines roamed North America alongside long-extinct giants like woolly mammoths and ground sloths. Their collective grazing patterns shaped the prehistoric savannas, creating a cascading effect that sustained entire webs of life. When these great herbivores vanished in a wave of extinction, the baseline ecology of the land shifted permanently, a transformation that modern environmental scientists are still actively deciphering. In response, progressive rewilding initiatives across portions of Europe and Asia are systematically reintroducing horses alongside European bison and other massive grazers. These projects operate on the principle that a healthy grassland requires the physical presence of the horse, just as much as the horse requires the nourishment of the plain. It is a model of evolutionary collaboration where both entities thrive exclusively because of the other's presence. A striking manifestation of this ecological resilience unfolded within the Chernobyl exclusion zone in Ukraine. Following the total evacuation of humanity, endangered Przewalski's horses were introduced into the area in the early 2000s. Free from the pressures of human development, agricultural expansion, and vehicle traffic, these primitive horses have thrived spectacularly. The toxic, contaminated terrain that humanity was forced to abandon transformed into a pristine, unintended sanctuary for a species that had run out of wild spaces on Earth. There is a poetic complexity in the reality that human departure paved the way for the triumphant return of the truly wild horse. The impact of equine hooves against varying terrains creates an evocative auditory language all its own. On hard-packed dirt roads, the footfalls emit a hollow, resonant cadence that rolls softly across the open country. This muffled, rhythmic thudding possesses an intrinsic musicality, serving as a steady metronome when the animal moves at a trot or a canter. When shifting onto old cobblestone, the acoustic signature transforms into a crisp, ringing clarity. Each distinct footfall strikes with an independent, metallic echo that reverberates off surrounding walls. This specific sound instantly conjures the imagery of an antique urban landscape, evoking market squares, horse-drawn carriages, and a historical era that operated at a completely different velocity of life. For individuals of a certain generation, hearing that rhythmic clatter on stone causes time to gently bend backward, offering a fleeting connection to a quieter, slower world. Conversely, hooves navigating lush pasture grass are practically silent. The soft blades absorb the kinetic energy, reducing the impact to an almost imperceptible pressing sound that vanishes beyond a distance of a few feet. Because of this dampening effect, a massive horse can glide up across a meadow and be standing nearly beside you before your ears ever register its approach. This striking contrast, the sudden arrival of a monumental physical presence wrapped in absolute silence, captures the core duality of the equine archetype: immense power paired with delicate gentleness, and the capacity for thunderous noise coupled with absolute stillness. When they step into water, the audio landscape shifts again. The rhythmic splashing and the wet vacuum sound of hooves pulling through the muddy bottom of a shallow stream convey raw, unbothered power. As the water sprays high against their powerful legs, the horse presses forward with the utter indifference of an animal whose ancestors have been crossing rivers since long before humanity began keeping track of time. The current presents no obstacle. They simply step through and carry on. The final decades of the 20th century witnessed the rise of a revolutionary philosophy known as natural horsemanship, though its core methodologies are rooted in ancient traditions. This movement centers on the belief that equine education should seamlessly align with the animal's innate communication systems rather than trying to suppress them through mechanical force. It demands a deep understanding of how a herd establishes hierarchy through subtle signals of dominance and deference, how the concepts of pressure and release operate within an equine mind, and the realization that a horse's primal flight response cannot be permanently broken by violence. It must instead be redirected through consistent, calm, and crystalline clarity. The pioneering horsemen who championed this shift, legendary figures such as Tom and Bill Dorrance, alongside Ray Hunt, operated out of the American West. They formulated revolutionary techniques for starting young, unhandled horses, prioritizing the investment of time and boundless patience over raw physical domination. Their ultimate objective was never a merely submissive mechanical animal, but a genuinely willing partner, a horse that actively chooses to cooperate because it has been granted the autonomy to make that choice. To witness a master of this philosophy work with an untamed or traumatized horse is a masterclass in human restraint. The practitioner might spend a quiet hour simply guiding the horse around a round pen, carefully cataloging every nuance of its body language. They watch intently for the precise microsignals that indicate the horse is beginning to mentally engage with the human rather than looking for an escape route. A subtle tilt of the inside ear toward the center, a lowering of the muzzle toward the dust, or a rhythmic chewing motion that signals a neurochemical release of deep-seated stress. The absolute instant these signals manifest, the trainer immediately ceases all pressure, dropping into complete stillness to wait. What follows is a breathtaking display of voluntary connection. The horse will often pause, hesitate, and then slowly begin to walk directly toward the center of the pen. It stops, tests the air, steps forward again, and ultimately arrives close enough to rest its muzzle against the human. Those who have stood in the dust and witnessed that moment, when a creature hardwired for flight chooses to step into your space of its own free will, describe it as one of the most profoundly moving experiences imaginable. Its beauty lies not in dramatic showmanship, but in its absolute voluntariness. The horse possessed every right to stay away, yet it chose to come close. Horses frequently exhibit highly unique, eccentric personalities that defy rigid biological categorization. Many individuals harbor intense personal preferences, including a documented fascination with music. Controlled behavioral studies reveal that slow, harmonically uncomplicated classical arrangements possess the power to actively lower an equine's heart rate and visibly reduce stereotypic stress behaviors within the stable. Conversely, fast-paced, structurally complex, or chaotic rhythms can induce heightened tension and anxiety. Recognizing this, many modern equestrian facilities broadcast classical compositions throughout the barns as a standard element of their daily care routine. Furthermore, horses are famous for cultivating bizarre, cross-species alliances. Stabling a calm goat alongside a high-strung, anxious racehorse is a time-honored tradition in the racing world. Under the influence of its small companion, the explosive thoroughbred settles into a peaceful baseline, and the goat becomes a permanent fixture of its daily existence. This profound attachment between a creature engineered for supreme velocity and one evolved for browsing scrublands stands as a beautiful, inexplicable mystery of animal behavior. Similar bonds regularly bloom between horses and stable dogs, barn cats, or the loose chickens that peck through the dirt of their paddocks. Because they are fundamentally social herd animals, they are biologically unsuited for solitude. If deprived of their own kind, they will actively seek out whatever companionship the environment provides, pouring their loyalty into whatever creature answers the call. This social intelligence spills over into an intentional, highly developed sense of play. While foals play with reckless abandon, sprinting, bucking, and spinning across the grass out of pure, unadulterated joy, mature horses remain remarkably playful throughout their adult lives. Their play manifests in selective, calculated ways. Mutual grooming sessions that seamlessly dissolve into harmless, rhythmic play biting, high-spirited games of tag and chase across the open pastures, cleverly learning to hurl their empty feed buckets into the aisle, standing back to monitor the approaching human with an expression of mischievous expectation. Beyond their physical utility, horses possess a unique, playful wit. It does not manifest in the calculated manner of human humor, but rather as an intrinsic delight in the unexpected, a willingness to perform an action simply to observe the response it triggers, playing the exact same game repeatedly purely for the innate satisfaction of the loop. In recent decades, this intuitive connection between equine companionship and human wellness has been formalized into the clinical field of equine-assisted therapy. While the baseline observation is centuries old, humanity has long recognized that lingering near a stable alters the human psyche, causing struggling children to come alive and offering adults a sanctuary for depression or anxiety. Modern science has finally begun to validate these experiences. Empirical research reveals that spending quiet moments with a horse, even through the simple act of grooming or standing in their immediate presence, actively minimizes human cortisol levels, the primary hormone tied to acute stress. As cortisol drops, the human nervous system successfully exits its defensive survival mode, shifting from a state of hypervigilant alert to deep, restorative ease. Concurrently, a participant's heart rate variability, a crucial metric of autonomic nervous system regulation, improves significantly during these interactions. Fascinating cardiovascular studies even suggest that when humans and horses maintain close physical proximity, their cardiac rhythms can actually synchronize. The massive, slow, and rhythmic heartbeat of the 1,000-pound animal acts as a natural biological pacemaker, gently pulling the rapid, fragmented human heart rate into its own serene cadence. Whether viewed through strict data or felt experience, the outcome remains remarkably consistent. Individuals report an immediate wave of calm, finding themselves anchored directly within their physical bodies rather than trapped in mental loops. Horses reject any emotional counterfeit. If your mind wanders to past regrets or future anxieties, they instantly sense the lack of presence. Navigating an animal of this scale demands a pristine quality of undivided attention that functions as a pure form of mindfulness. You cannot ruminate over yesterday's failures when managing a massive creature in an open paddock. The sheer reality of the animal insists upon the now, providing a uniquely powerful therapeutic sanctuary. Throughout the tapestry of world mythology, the horse has perpetually served as the sacred courier between the mortal realm and the unseen worlds beyond. Within the classical Greek tradition, the magnificent winged stallion Pegasus soared across the heavens to bear the raw thunderbolts of Zeus. The mortal hero Bellerophon successfully tamed this creature of the sky, utilizing an enchanted golden bridle bestowed upon him by the goddess Athena, embarking on an epic alliance to conquer the monstrous chimera, a feat that neither man nor stallion could have achieved in isolation. In the frozen cosmos of Norse lore, the All-Father Odin traversed the stars atop Sleipnir, an extraordinary eight-legged steed capable of seamlessly stepping across the 9 distinct realms of existence. Those extra limbs were never mere ornamental anomalies. They represented the exact anatomical reason why this stallion could tread paths closed to all others. Standard horses, restricted to 4 legs, could only navigate ordinary terrestrial domains, whereas Sleipnir's 8 hooves granted him the sovereignty to cross any cosmic threshold. Within Western theological literature, few symbolic creatures carry the historical weight of the 4 horses of the apocalypse from Christian tradition. Each distinct animal bears a specific coloration, functioning as a living vessel that unleashes a monumental force upon the earth. A white steed representing righteousness or conquest, a red mount signifying the blood of war, a black horse embodying the slow devastation of famine, and a pale creature carrying the finality of death. Similarly, across diverse shamanic cultures, the horse was revered as the ultimate vehicle through which the spiritual practitioner migrated into otherworldly dimensions. The sacred hide drum beaten during these intense rituals was frequently referred to as the shaman's literal steed. Its steady, driving tempo functioned as an acoustic mount, carrying the human consciousness into a deep trance state to journey far beyond the boundaries of the ordinary world. Even when reduced to pure metaphor, the horse remains the definitive instrument of transit, carrying the human spirit across impossible divides, transporting us to destinations we could never reach on our own 2 feet. The subject of equine coat coloration appears deceptively simple on the surface, yet it unfolds into a wonderfully intricate universe of genetic pathways. The foundational baseline colors are governed by primary genetic markers. Bay, a rich, deep brown torso contrasted by striking black points, meaning the mane, tail, and lower limbs are entirely black. Chestnut, an unbroken palette of reddish-brown, where the mane and tail mirror the warm, coppery tones of the main body. Black, a deceptively rare coat in its absolute pure form, as many horses that appear black to a casual observer are genetically revealed to be exceptionally dark bays or deep espresso browns. Gray, this is not actually an organic base color, but a progressive, lifelong transformation. A gray horse enters the world completely dark-coated and gradually lightens with each successive shedding cycle, with most eventually turning a pristine, snowy white in their senior years. True white horses, by contrast, are born with pink skin and white hair from day one, an exceedingly rare biological occurrence. Beyond these primary shades lie the intricate patterns and modifiers. The dun pattern presents a sandy or golden coat anchored by a stark, dark dorsal stripe running directly down the spine, a primitive marking recognized as a genetic echo from their ancient, prehistoric ancestors. The Palomino exhibits a coin gold body paired with a flaxen, white, or cream mane and tail. The Pinto displays bold, sweeping abstract collages of white intertwined with any alternative color. The Appaloosa showcases intricate, spotted configurations that were deeply treasured by the Nez Perce people of the American Northwest, becoming an indelible symbol of their tribal culture and equestrian mastery. Every single hue and spotting pattern is dictated by highly specific, intersecting gene pairings, making equine color genetics a field of immense complexity. The exact same pair of alleles can manifest in completely different visual phenotypes depending on the hidden presence of overarching modifier genes. Colors that appear identical to the naked eye can be forged by entirely disparate genetic blueprints, and on rare occasions, a spontaneous genetic combination occurs that completely surprises breeders and geneticists alike. This complexity often fosters deep personal superstitions among horsemen, who frequently swear by a specific coat color, convinced that a chestnut or a bay possesses an immutable, distinct temperament. While science continues to debate whether coat pigment is explicitly linked to psychological traits, the passionate stories shared across stables remain beautifully unwavering. A horse's relationship with water is an entire behavioral study in itself. Certain individuals harbor an unadulterated love for the element, wading into deep ponds without the slightest human prompting simply to enjoy the cool relief against their limbs. They will splash joyfully in shallow river crossings, lowering their muzzles to the glassy surface to blow columns of bubbles, an endearing behavior that represents equal parts sensory investigation and pure play. Other horses approach water with immense, calcified caution. They will grind to a halt at the edge of a stream, lowering their heads to scrutinize the current, testing the depth with a single tentative hoof, and deeply considering their options before finally crossing with reluctant steps. This caution is profoundly logical. A horse recognizes that the shifting reflections on the water's surface obscure the true depth and stability of the bottom. To an animal engineered for flight, stepping onto an invisible substrate is an unacceptable risk, an ancient, survival-driven prudence that has preserved their limbs for millions of years. When geographic barriers demanded it, Humanity relied on a long tradition of swimming horses across deep bodies of water when engineering structures were unavailable. Horses possess a natural, instinctive ability to swim, floating with surprising buoyancy due to their massive lung capacity. Watching a horse swim is a striking spectacle. The massive torso submerged beneath the current, the long legs paddling rhythmically beneath the surface, and the neck fully extended with the head held high above the wake as they steadily claim the opposite shore. To truly understand the soul of the horse, one must witness the precise moment a stalled animal is liberated into a massive open field. At first, they do not run toward an explicit destination, nor are they fleeing a perceived threat. They sprint purely for the sake of kinetic release. They rocket across the pasture, bucking skyward, spinning on their haunches, and executing powerful strides that release the physical compression built up within the confines of a stable barn. This display is brief, lasting only a few minutes before the animal abruptly drops its head, exhales deeply, and calmly begins to graze as if the explosive sprint had never occurred. It is a vital somatic reset, the body clearing out accumulated tension before returning to the true, quiet business of the day. Yet those fleeting minutes of unbridled liberty reveal what a horse remains at its absolute core. Beneath the layers of human intervention, selective breeding, and centuries of training, a creature explicitly sculpted for untamed movement. They require vast open spaces just as humans require oxygen, remaining most entirely themselves when a wide horizon beckons and the choice to run toward it belongs completely to them. This ethereal presence is precisely what horse lovers struggle to articulate to the uninitiated. It transcends raw speed, undeniable beauty, or even the depth of the cross-species bond. It is an indescribable, ancient quality of pure being that the horse carries into our world. The true power of the horse resides in its absolute somatic alignment, the way it remains entirely anchored within its physical body at every given moment. A horse is incapable of pretense. It never performs an emotion or a posture that it does not authentically mean. By its very baseline mechanics, it issues a silent command, asking you to strip away your own emotional facades and be entirely real in return. Horses remain completely indifferent to your professional titles, your socioeconomic status, or the chaotic frustrations you have endured within the human landscape. They care exclusively about the raw data you are transmitting to them in the immediate present. The micro shifts in how you stand, the shallow or deep rhythm of your breathing, the subtle tension or release holding your hands, whether your internal emotional reality matches your external gestures. This absolute directness offers a profound, instantaneous wave of relief to the human psyche. It provides a rare sanctuary where the exhausting, complex social furniture of human civilization loses all utility. In this space, the only currency that carries value is authentic presence, clear intentionality, and baseline honesty. The massive animal standing directly before you serves as an unblemished mirror, indicating instantly whether you have achieved those states or fallen short. This primitive clarity is incredibly difficult to find across the rest of modern life, yet horses offer it freely and without condition to any human who steps into their perimeter. Step inside the tack room of any working stable, and you are immediately greeted by a highly specific sensory atmosphere. It is a space defined by the rich aroma of oiled leather, sweet metal polishes, and the pungent, earthy musk of dried horse sweat that permanently clings to every textile and tool. Saddles rest heavily upon their wooden stands. Bridles hang in neat rows from heavy wall hooks with their steel bits polished clean and catching the low light, and grooming brushes are meticulously arranged in their boxes alongside half-empty tins of yellow saddle soap. The room is filled with specialized leather straps and buckles, so distinct in their biomechanical utility that only a seasoned horse person could identify their names. There is an intrinsically meditative, grounding quality tied to the routine cleaning of equestrian tack. As saddle soap is applied in steady, small concentric circles, the leather fibers slowly warm under the friction of the hand, greedily drinking in the oils. Working the rich conditioner in with a soft cloth causes the hide to darken slightly, regaining its supple, pliable strength. Concurrently, the steel and brass buckles are rubbed clean to strip away the green oxidation and tarnish that accumulates from long hours in the elements. Once finished, every piece is returned to its designated hook, sound and prepared for the next journey. This labor of maintenance is fundamentally endless, a continuous, unhurried cycle of preservation. It is not unpleasant. It is simply the quiet, foundational work required to keep things in good order, ensuring the absolute comfort of the horse and guaranteeing that no critical piece of gear fractures at a critical moment. Horsemen execute this work in a state of pleasant autopilot, the hands working through a deeply familiar task while the mind is granted full permission to drift across memories or settle into absolute stillness. When the maintenance concludes and the sun drops below the horizon, the evening stable settles into a state of tranquility that cannot be replicated in any other architectural space. Once the evening feeds have been distributed and the stalls checked, the barn fills with soft, domestic acoustics. The rhythmic, wet crunching of horses contentedly grinding down their forage, the occasional hollow shifting of a heavy hoof against clean straw, and the deep, fluttering sigh of a large mare letting go of the day. Outside, the last remnants of amber daylight bleed from the sky. Inside the barn, the atmosphere is warm, dim, and profoundly settled. Every tool is in its proper place. Every animal is exactly where it belongs. The work of the day is fully complete. To witness a newborn foal discover the mechanics of flight is to watch one of the most purely joyful spectacles on earth. Within its very first week outside the womb, the young animal begins to experiment aggressively with the hidden capabilities of its remarkably long limbs. It launches into short, explosive bursts of speed that frequently culminate in a tangled, uncoordinated stumble. Its processing brain not yet fully synchronized with the ambitious acceleration of its torso. But with each passing afternoon, coordination sharpens. It strings together 3, 4, then 5 clean, consecutive strides, experiencing the evolutionary revelation that running feels entirely distinct from walking, a realization that its muscles and bones instantly recognize as an absolute birthright. Throughout this erratic play, the mother mare keeps watch from a brief distance. She displays no frantic anxiety and makes no attempt to intervene or suppress the chaos. She remains a steady, unyielding anchor, allowing her offspring the full autonomy to explore what it is and what its body can achieve. The foal will regularly charge outward to the absolute perimeter of what feels psychologically safe, only to pivot and execute a frantic loop back to her side. It repeats this pattern indefinitely, using its mother as a fixed monument of absolute safety around which wild geographic exploration becomes possible. By the arrival of its first month, the foal possesses the biomechanical balance to unlock true, breathtaking velocity. By the third month, its bodily proportions undergo a dramatic shift, transitioning away from the leggy, top-heavy, oversized head silhouette of the neonate toward the powerful, balanced architecture of the mature horse it is destined to become. The fine foal coat sheds out to reveal a rich, dense adult coloration, and defined muscle groups begin to ripple beneath the hide. Its underlying personality, which was visible within the first hours of birth, solidifies into clear focus. Every individual foal develops an independent behavioral identity. There are the naturally bold ones that charge forward to greet the world, the intensely shy ones that analyze from a distance, the hyper-curious individuals that approach every novel object with ears pinned forward and nostrils extended, and the highly cautious specimens that trail safely behind their mother's flank, waiting for curiosity to slowly outweigh their survival instincts. None of these behavioral variations are superior to the others. They represent the true, unvarnished identity of the sovereign being, present almost from the very beginning. Across the face of the modern world, horses exist across an immense continuum of human contact. At one absolute edge of this spectrum live the horses that have never once been touched by a human hand, wild autonomous bands moving across remote, sweeping landscapes that humanity rarely ever glimpses. At the opposite pole exist the animals that have interacted with thousands of individual hands, meticulously trained with immense patience, guided through glittering show rings, ridden by young children learning the basics of balance, steered by elite athletes in international competitions, and partnered with senior riders who have spent their entire lives in the saddle, yet still uncover something entirely new within the connection each day. In the vast space between these two extremes exists every domestic horse alive today. Each individual carries its own highly specific history, its own distinct personality, and its own beautiful way of navigating the physical world it has been granted. They do not ask for our validation, nor do they live to be consciously understood by human intellect. They simply exist, fully, deeply, and without a single shred of apology, within their skin, their native landscapes, and their intricate social bonds with one another and with us. They have executed this magnificent dance for over 55 million years, arriving on this planet long before human consciousness emerged, long before any calendar began tracking time, and long before human language labeled their form, mythology celebrated their deeds, or ancient cave art preserved their likeness. They were already here, moving across the young Earth, an integral thread woven into the planet's evolutionary epic, already exactly what they are. And they remain here now, as the night deepens, standing quietly in the dark pastures, resting in rows of dim stables, trailing across open plains, navigating mountain valleys, and grazing on sweeping grasslands that roll outward to meet the night sky. They are still breathing, still shifting, still keeping a watchful eye over one another in the shadows, remaining completely identical to what they have always been. Allow that image to settle completely into your awareness, now as your own respirations slow to match the rhythm of the evening. Picture an expansive field at the absolute edge of dark, with horses scattered across its terrain. Some stand like silent monuments, some drift with slow steps across the grass, and others are already bedding down into the soft pasture. Above them, the night sky stretches wide and dark, and stars are igniting one by one along the horizons where the final purple twilight surrenders to the deep night. Everything in that pasture is operating with immense slowness. Everything is patient. The natural world is making no effort to rush toward a destination, and the horses are moving without a single trace of haste. The night is settling over the earth like a heavy, soft, and warm blanket. Your own physical body is now invited to settle in the exact same manner. A comfortable heaviness manifests directly behind your eyes. The tightly held muscles across your shoulders and neck completely dissolve. The fine tension holding your jaw releases its grip. Your breath enters and exits your lungs effortlessly, operating entirely on its own without a single ounce of conscious direction. The frantic thoughts that dominated your mind a few moments ago now lose their sharpness, drifting away like high clouds caught on a slow, steady wind. Present for a brief moment, and then gone, present, and then completely gone. In the field of your mind, a lone horse lowers its head into the cool grass, gathers a single slow mouthful, and chews with unhurried strokes. It is completely, totally present within that specific coordinate of space and time, nowhere else. You are fully permitted to occupy that space too, right here, anchored in this immediate moment, with nowhere else you need to travel and no emotional baggage left to carry. There is only the quiet. There is only the dark. There is only the slow, steady rhythm of your breath. Throughout our shared history, horses have quietly instructed humanity in lessons that could never have been acquired through any other medium. They teach us the architecture of true patience, not the performative patience of gritting your teeth, clamping your jaw, and forcing yourself to wait, but actual authentic patience. It is the profound state of being where your mind genuinely accepts that the entity you desire cannot be forced or rushed, causing you to completely abandon the urge to speed it up. Horses instruct humans how to read a world entirely devoid of words, to comprehend an intricate language that bypasses speech entirely. They train our eyes to pay meticulous attention to the subtle alignment of a posture, the expansion of a breath, the minute angle of a lowered head, and the precise set of an ear, forcing us to realize how much data is being continuously broadcast at every single moment by every living organism on this planet. If only you can become quiet enough to receive it. They demonstrate with absolute clarity that trust is built in tiny, painstaking increments over years, yet can be shattered into dust in a single fraction of a second. They teach us that absolute consistency of character is everything, that who you choose to be when a situation is tense and difficult matters infinitely more than who you display yourself to be when things are effortless. They remind us that an animal's willingness is a rare, exquisite gift, never an entitlement or a baseline right. It can be rescinded at any moment, meaning it must be earned with immense care and guarded with even greater reverence once it has been extended to you. Above all, horses instruct humans in deep humility. To stand directly alongside an animal that towers over your frame, possessing 1,000 pounds of superior strength, greater velocity, and sensory perceptions that far exceed your own, is to instantly realize that its cooperation is never inevitable. It chooses to align with you, or it actively chooses not to. And the absolute only leverage you possess over that monumental choice is the character of the person you decide to become when you step into its presence. These are no small lessons. They represent the highest virtues of the human experience, and horses have been offering them to us quietly, without demanding a single contract, for thousands of years. As deep sleep approaches, allow your remaining thoughts to slow down to an absolute crawl. Visualize an open field resting at the early edge of morning. The sun has not yet crested the horizon. It is that gray, soft, formless hour before the sky begins to shift its colors. The pasture grass is heavy with cold dew, and the morning air is perfectly still and crisp. At the far perimeter of this field stands a lone horse. One of its hips is casually dropped, allowing the leg beneath it to rest completely easy on the earth. Its head is held low, its tail hangs without a single stir of movement, and its massive eyes are half closed in tranquility. The horse is not executing a task, it is not traveling toward a destination, and it is not waiting for an event to manifest. It is simply there, completely present in the grass, resting in the gray twilight, filling the quiet morning. The only sound in the entire landscape is its occasional exhale, a long, slow plume of warm breath filtering through wide nostrils, released into the cool morning air and dissolving into nothingness. Everything else is frozen in absolute peace. Let that profound stillness move across the distance and wrap around you now. It is the exact same stillness occupying the open field, the unblemished quiet of a morning before a single demand has been issued to the world. Let your own breathing stretch out, longer, slower. Emulate the exact cadence a horse uses when it knows it is completely safe. You are entirely safe. Everything around you is still. There is absolutely nothing that requires your energy or execution right now. There is only the wide field, the soft gray light, and the horse standing easy in the quiet. And there is you, drifting effortlessly into something much softer, much slower, and infinitely further away from everything that requires physical or mental effort. The deep sleep of a horse is a generous, beautiful thing, given freely only when absolute trust is established. When the herd is close, when the night holds no threat, and when the earth beneath its body is soft enough to receive its weight. When a horse lies completely flat on its side in the grass, it has made a conscious decision. It is an internal choice that declares, I am completely safe here. I can let go of my vigilance. I can surrender fully to rest. It is such a wonderfully simple decision, yet one that can be so incredibly difficult to make sometimes, even for us. But here, within this darkness, you have successfully made that exact decision, or the surrounding quiet has gracefully made it on your behalf. Either way, the outcome is identical. Your physical body is light and easy. Your mind is moved entirely away from the burdens of the day, and your breathing has settled into an absolute rhythm. The field is wide, gray, and comforting. The horse stands at the far edge of it, watching nothing, needing nothing, simply breathing. Horses have carried humanity an incredible distance across the face of time. They have borne us over infinite plains, navigated steep mountain passes, pushed through burning deserts, and endured freezing snowfields. They have carried us into the fires of war and safely escorted us out of them. They have turned the heavy soil of fields that needed planting, crossed vast distances that required bridging, and survived the grueling centuries alongside us. And they have asked for remarkably little in return for rewriting human history. Just basic food, fresh water, physical safety, and whatever human kindness was available to them. They have consistently given our species infinitely more than they ever received, and they have done so completely unaware of the massive scale of their contribution. They possess no knowledge that their strength built empires, that their legs carried explorers to geographic zones no human had ever mapped, that their likeness remains frozen on prehistoric cave walls 30,000 years old, or that their name is woven into the core linguistics of virtually every culture on Earth. They have no idea that there are humans alive at this exact moment whose bond with a single horse has been the defining, orienting experience of their entire life. They do not need to know any of it. They are simply here, exactly as they have always been, warm, massive, present, and impossibly alive in the unique way all animals are impossibly alive when you finally quiet your mind long enough to look at them. Consider this final thought tonight. Somewhere in the dark right now, a horse is lying down in the grass, fully asleep. Its legs are stretched out wide, and its chest rises and falls with the deep, slow, resonant breathing of a creature that has surrendered itself completely to absolute rest. And its herd companion stands just a few feet away, keeping quiet watch over the night. This sentinel is not afraid, and it is not restless. It is simply present in the beautiful way only horses can be present, aware, still, and guarding the dark so that its partner can completely let go of the world. There is an ancient, beautiful kindness in that arrangement, the enduring peace of knowing that while you sleep, something gentle and strong is keeping watch over your safety. You are fully permitted to let go now, too. The night is perfectly quiet. The field is wide and safe. The grass is cool under the stars. The sky is doing exactly what it has always done. Somewhere a horse breathes slowly in the dark, another stands close by in the shadows, and the whole soft earth turns gently around them. You have no duties left to perform. Just breathe. Just rest. Just let the quiet carry you away. Good night.